Hi, welcome. My name is Dale McCluskey. In this video, I'd like to take a couple minutes to discuss how a dog's decision-making process responds within the context of the relational dynamics in play between dog and owner. Within both the context of where the owner is currently standing in nature, as it relates to various interactions with other people, dogs, situations, and where the relationship is going within the context of the relational model once an intervention starts to come online to create meaningful change. And even the contrast with the personality types of people, with how that relational interplay happens between even when a trainer steps on the scene within that context. So basically, to understand the dog's decision-making process, how it reacts and responds, is that it's important to understand that, again, dogs are relational beings, so right away they form a very special connection through nature to us, and they're able to get a kind of almost like a picture frame. They're able to get a pretty clear picture as to where we're standing in nature, what that represents to them in a dog-like way within the context of strength and weakness. So how you're thinking and what you're investing into that relationship through your emotions, through the context of your personality type, to whether you're fulfilling that leadership role, all have a part to play. It all kind of intertwines within that, through that connection at the relational level, and the dog begins to do their own personality test, so to speak, and the decision-making process of the dog starts to respond accordingly. And so, and I talk about people becoming objectified in a power, becoming like a power source for the dog. That's what begins to happen. You are, whoever spends the most time with the dog, becomes has the greatest influence on the relationship. And they become the pivoting point for how the dog's decision-making process branches out and connects and intersects different situations, different environments with people, and so it makes a profound impact in the context how it influences the path the dog's decision-making process takes. And so when other people step on the scene, now that's why when a trainer steps on the scene, sometimes what can happen is a person can get bitten pretty fast once the dog starts to get a sense of where that person stands within the context of a relationship through the original owner, so what's been created at that level, so what's been established, the foundations of the relationship. So it starts to intersect the other people involved with how those dynamics, those interplays, whether or not it's a source of empowerment or not, and how that elevates the decision-making process of the dog within that framework itself. So again, once a trainer steps on the scene, that's why trainers or people that are going in at that level can get bitten very fast before that leash even has a chance to move, because the dog is already extending that influence, and its intersecting point is happening, and the dog's mind is starting to react accordingly. So that's when you see challenge happen very fast, especially dogs that are holding a huge amount of power. So people will assume that just because the dog has been bitten before, likely everything's okay, even though you're having some severe issues. Well, those issues you're having, the elevation levels within that context will give you kind of a framework or kind of a baseline as to what could happen if a certain personality type connects with that dog, and that dog extends that influence within that through that person, in that way through the pack relationship. That's why see guys like Cesar Millan trying to get the dog owners away from them because they say their energy level will create a bite. Well, that's kind of true. I mean, once a person becomes a source of power to that dog, it's kind of like a drug, and it will trigger, it'll elevate that dog, it'll empower that dog, and what it does is it creates a greater contrast, okay, between that personality type and with the dog's current state of mind. It'll trigger, it'll send it through the roof. The dog sometimes will flash right over. So You have to be, you have to really take it down to that level to be able to understand the context. And the other issue is, so there's the, there's the kind of like the present tense, okay, with those dynamics of how this decision-making process of dogs govern. And then there's the future tense. There's where the relationship is headed once the intervention starts happening, say through this model, through this approach. Then what happens is you see a change with how the dog starts to interact, starts to react to the owner as the holes start to close in their psychology and they start to become the real deal. You'll see the dog will be in competition. The dog will kind of disassociate. So what you see is kind of a falling away. The dog will be with the person connected for the wrong reason, the possessive state. Then what happens is there's kind of a falling away because they know you're in competition now. But then through the framework of how you create relational change, once change starts taking hold, there's a coming back. There's a reattaching to the person again, but in a right way, okay, as a follower. So the dog connects in a happy way, in a balanced way. So, but you have to figure out the context of which it is first. And usually the issues that you're having with your dog will provide context, okay? And through leadership, through reasonable influence, as you're leading your dog on the walk, you'll see how the dog responds and reacts to that. That's why the leash walk is generally the first thing to break down with dog owners, because the dog starts to, challenge that, and in fact wants to kind of camp out away from, even if the levels will get so high, the dog, even the potential of being brought into leadership starts to really take hold with the dog, and they start to really start to associate and disconnect from certain people totally. That's a sign it's really heading into that higher level. But again, once the intervention comes along, the person starts to change, the dog senses that. And so even reconciling the information properly and starting to think differently makes all the difference in the world. That's why when you have the right personality type step on the scene, say even with a young high drive dog, you're not going to see all the drama, you're not going to see all the challenge, because they're already fulfilling that role naturally. And so there's no intervention needed within that framework. And so that's why certain people just do not have, that's why certain people don't have issues with dogs, because their personality type is such that there's a natural alignment taking place. So, but when the intervention comes online, the person starts changing. You'll see the change start to happen pretty quickly. So, but how I frame it up in the script and how everything comes together through the relational model, it's all designed to bring all the pieces together properly. It's designed that in such a way that meaningful change is going to happen, because it's important that everything aligns properly when the intervention comes online, to make sure everything kind of repaints itself. The landscape gets repainted. The dog starts to think differently about different situations. Starts to come in. Everything starts coming through the follower script. So we talk about socialization and how all that plays out. Well, everything's coming through the person. Now the pivot point changes. The person becomes the pivoting point for the dog, but in a right way. So everything comes through the person, and everything's coming within the context of the follower script. And that's why it's not about the dog losing the ability to meet or go into situations that may have to be temporarily pulled back while change is happening, because once those become sources of empowerment to the dog, you need to stop it. You need to shrink the dog's world, so to speak, temporarily, while the dog's being brought into that script. While the intervention's online, it's happening, and then once change starts happening, then the dog's world expands again, but differently. Everything starts to become balanced out. And so this whole system of training isn't about avoidance. It's all about overcoming. But it's just like the tornado's got a calm center. Okay, a storm has a calm center. That's what the system represents. It's the calm center of the storm. It helps people gain the right focus that's needed to overcome everything. So I just want to encourage you to check out my system of training. It's all about winning. Everyone wins in this system. You get what you want. The dog gets what they need, and everyone comes into a state of mutual balance. And so regardless, and I tell people, regardless of whether you failed in the past with other systems or you've experienced limit results, this system of training offers hope to all dogs and all dog owners, regardless of the situation. So I encourage you to check out my system, my website, lots of great videos. Have a great day.